Believe it or not, it's been 20 years since the release of the first Harry Potter book, and over a decade since the series ended with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. In the time since, author J.K. Rowling has expanded upon her magical universe, adding new bits of information to flesh out the timeline and history. Fans were caught more than a little off guard when Rowling revealed the events of the books and movies actually took place in the 90s. And now with the inclusion of the Fantastic Beasts series into the timeline, it can get a little overwhelming keeping track. But don't you fret, we've crafted the ultimate Harry Potter timeline to help you stay oriented. And before we get started, Accio subscribe button! Now that it's in front of you, you might as well give it a click, right? Really though, subscribing to our channel is the best way to keep up with all of ScreenRant's great new content. So do it! Hogwarts, a history. Let's go all the way back to the very beginning. And we mean the very beginning. It was near the end of the 10th century when a wonderful and, dare we say it, magical thing happened. The founding of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. At the time of its formation, most wizards and witches were homeschooled, probably just spending all day playing with their wands. Anyway, the need for an actual learning institution for young witches and wizards was pressing, so Godric Gryffindor, Rowena Ravenclaw, Helga Hufflepuff, and Salazar Slytherin decided to do just that. While it isn't clear if Hogwarts was truly the first wizarding school, Rowling certainly frames it as the most important. Many of the best and brightest witches and wizards came from Hogwarts, including Merlin and the Peverell brothers, the creators of the Deathly Hallows. But while the creation of Hogwarts ended up being a major success, not all was well with its founders. Salazar Slytherin insisted only pureblood should be taught at Hogwarts. That is to say, anyone with a purely magical family lineage. The other founders disagreed, so this grumpy Gus ended up going off on his own, but not before he created the Chamber of Secrets and hid a basilisk inside it. No wonder nobody got along with him. Merlin, the Deathly Hallows, and the Ministry of Magic. A whole lot happened in the wizarding world during the next 700 years or so bear with us. As we mentioned previously, the formation of Hogwarts ended up being a major asset to the wizarding community. Merlin ended up graduating from there, and even though he was a Slytherin, he was an outspoken proponent for Muggle rights. Okay, fine, we'll admit it, maybe not all Slytherins are conniving, secret chamber creating punks. Merlin actually went so far as to create the Order of Merlin, a law that strictly forbade wizards from using magic on Muggles in a harmful way. Merlin wasn't the only individual making strides in the magical community. The Peverell brothers ended up creating the Deathly Hallows, 3 magical objects which, when combined, would make their wielder immortal. Those objects were the Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Invisibility Cloak. Not one to be left out of all the excitement, Nicholas Flamel decided to go and create that Philosopher's Stone, also known as the Sorcerer's Stone to us silly Americans, and even Beedle the Bard got in on the fun, creating his incredible collection of fables. All these events culminated with the establishment of the International Statute of Wizarding Secrecy in 1692, which forced all wizards to go into hiding. A little more than a decade later, the Ministry of Magic was founded. Dumbledore and Grindelwald. Before Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows revealed that there was more to Dumbledore than met the eye, everyone thought he was just a fun, loving, wise mentor who could do no wrong. Then we learned about his past, his family, and his relationship with Grindelwald, and suddenly he emerged as a figure with an incredibly tragic background. When he was a young man, Dumbledore's younger sister Ariana was attacked by a group of Muggle boys who were freaked out by her powers. The attack left her permanently damaged. She was unable to function socially or even use magic ever again. Their father, Percival, ended up exacting his revenge on the Muggles, securing a one-way ticket to Azkaban for himself in the process. After one of Ariana's outbursts accidentally killed their mother, Dumbledore took it upon himself as the eldest brother to take care of the family. It was around this time that Dumbledore met Grindelwald, and together they began to formulate a potential new world order in which wizards ruled over Muggles. This would require them to move, but Dumbledore couldn't leave his sister behind. His younger brother Aberforth refused to let Dumbledore move Ariana, and during a showdown with Grindelwald, Ariana was accidentally killed. Dumbledore was fundamentally altered by this event, and he would abandon his and Grindelwald's quest for world domination. The Many Adventures of Newt and Company. This brings us right up to the events of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and its sequel, The Crimes of Grindelwald. And we're just gonna be completely upfront with you and warn you that if you haven't seen The Crimes of Grindelwald, we're about to get all spoiler happy with what happens. Still here? Alrighty then. The first Fantastic Beasts mostly dealt with the character of Newt Scamander and his adventures in New York City with his friends Jacob, Tina, and Queenie. Interspersed with their shenanigans is a storyline following a young boy named Credence, a mysterious individual whose incredible powers have made him Grindelwald's primary target for recruitment. In The Crimes of Grindelwald, Grindelwald reveals Credence is Dumbledore's long-lost brother, Aurelius. This is a major knowledge bomb, and while it's possible Grindelwald is lying to Credence in an attempt to manipulate him, there's still the possibility it's true. This reveal will no doubt play a huge part in later Fantastic Beasts films, and could serve as an explanation as to why Dumbledore decides to confront Grindelwald. As Potter fans are already well aware, these events seem to be leading to the ultimate showdown between Dumbledore and Grindelwald, which has gone down in wizarding history as perhaps one of the greatest duels of all time, if not the greatest. The story of Tom Riddle. Once Grindelwald was out of the way, it was only a matter of time until another evil wizard came into power to make life miserable. While Grindelwald's war raged on, a new student entered the Hogwarts ranks, Tom Marvolo Riddle. When Dumbledore first met Riddle in 1938, he was deeply disturbed by the boy's sinister nature. Despite Riddle's behavior, Dumbledore thought a guiding hand could set the boy on the right path. Tisk tisk, Dumbledore. Haven't you seen The Omen? Creepy demon children should be left to their own devices, not taken to the zoo. Man, those baboons. At Hogwarts, Riddle delighted in his studies. He became a top student, and no one would ever have suspected his darker tendencies. Nor would they have suspected that he was the heir of Slytherin and the true culprit behind the Chamber of Secrets being opened. Poor Hagrid got the blame, while Riddle went scot-free. By the 1940s, Riddle was fresh out of Hogwarts and ready to terrorize the world. He started small, visiting the home of his Muggle father and grandfather and murdering both of them in cold blood. While Dumbledore was busy fighting Grindelwald, Riddle was traveling the world, learning the ways of the dark side of the Force, magic, and seeking out a means to create his Horcruxes. By the time he returned home, he'd given himself a new name, Lord Voldemort. James and Lily Potter. By the 1970s, Voldemort picked up where Grindelwald had left off, attacking Muggles and declaring war against the Ministry of Magic. His Death Eaters had managed to infiltrate the Ministry, corrupting it to the point that the Wizarding Society could no longer determine friends from foe. To combat Voldemort's Death Eaters, Dumbledore formed his own super squad and gave it an even cooler name, the Order of the Phoenix. This was also the period in which James Potter met his best friends, Remus Lupin and Sirius Black, and ended up falling in love with his classmate, Lily Evans. Lily and her childhood friend Severus Snape eventually fell out due to Lily's interest in James, and Snape's interest in, well, you know, being evil. James and Lily graduated near the end of the decade, and were married not long after. Along with Sirius, Remus, and Peter Pettigrew, they ended up joining the Order of the Phoenix to help Dumbledore take down Voldemort. Things got more complicated when Lily gave birth to Harry. Voldemort learned of a prophecy declaring his demise and came after the Potter family. Although they were put into hiding and, for all intents and purposes, seemed safe, they were betrayed by Peter Pettigrew, who gave away their location. Voldemort ended up murdering James and Lily, but when the time came to kill Harry, well, you know. Harry Potter comes to Hogwarts. And we finally made it to the boy who lived himself. With Voldemort defeated, Harry was something of a legend, but he wouldn't have known it at the time because he was too busy being miserable with his awful Aunt Petunia, Uncle Vernon, and Cousin Dudley. But in 1991, at the age of 11, Harry learned he was a wizard, and everything changed. Of course, he only gets a brief time to enjoy the news because it isn't long before he discovers Voldemort is still after him, acting through others in order to regain life. Through the first half of the decade, Harry manages to thwart the Dark Lord time and time again. First, he prevented Voldemort from getting hold of the Philosopher's Stone. Then, in Chamber of Secrets, he managed to fend off Voldemort's sneaky ghost and destroy a Horcrux in the process. Not bad for a 12-year-old. Prisoner of Azkaban took a bit of a break from having Voldemort be the primary antagonist, but the reveal that Scabbers was really Peter Pettigrew, and Pettigrew's eventual escape would lead to the pivotal events in Goblet of Fire. By its conclusion, Voldemort finally returned to life for real, and his return marks a dark turning point in not only Harry and his friends' lives, but the lives of the entire wizarding community. Voldemort's return. Over the next couple years, things are not so good for Harry and his pals. With Voldemort on the loose, you'd think the Ministry of Magic would be preparing for all-out war. Instead, they decided to deny the whole thing, accusing both Harry and Dumbledore of attention-seeking. It becomes all too clear that the Ministry may be compromised, and war may be brewing once again. Dumbledore goes into full-on strategist mode, reforming the Order of the Phoenix and beginning his preparations to take Voldemort out once and for all. Unbeknownst to Harry, Dumbledore had been crafting Voldemort's ultimate defeat behind the scenes, keeping certain bits of information under wraps in order to manipulate events to his favor. Harry isn't a fan of being kept in the dark. His frustration combined with his raging hormones makes him behave like something of a teenager. Eventually, Dumbledore informs Harry of his plans, and the two embark on a journey of discovery together. This leads them to discover Voldemort's Horcruxes, the key to defeating the Dark Lord once and for all. Of course, everything takes an even worse turn when Snape ends up killing Dumbledore. Harry and his best buds Ron and Hermione are left with the task of finding the remaining Horcruxes and destroying them. The final showdown. And this brings us to the big finale, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Man, 1997 was a crazy year. You got James Cameron's monster box office hit Titanic, Radiohead releasing OK Computer, and Harry, Hermione, and Ron hunting down Horcruxes. I'd like to think the Golden Trio found the time to stop into a record shop or a movie theater to partake in all this wonderment, but alas, they had important work to do. Through the end of 1997, Harry, Ron, and Hermione accomplished more than most people accomplish in an entire lifetime. They snuck into the Ministry of Magic to steal another Horcrux, then managed to recover the Sword of Gryffindor, and to top it all off, they got to go camping as well. Of course, their camping trip wasn't filled so much with campfire sing-alongs and s'mores as it was with lots of bickering and depression, but hey, you can't win them all. Once they'd managed to recover another Horcrux stored in the Wizard Bank Gringotts, the trio returned to Hogwarts in early '98 to find the remaining ones. There, the student body and the faculty team up with the Order of the Phoenix for the epic showdown we've all been waiting for. Harry defeats Voldemort once and for all, and there was much rejoicing in the lands. The Cursed Child. Following the release of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, it looked like Harry Potter creator J.K. Rowling was done with the Potter universe once and for all. Then, rumblings started up about a play in the works. This play would follow a grown-up Harry, Hermione, and Ron and the adventures of their children as they faced a new threat, Voldemort's daughter, Delphine. While the majority of the Harry Potter franchise took place in the 90s, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child brings us right up to the modern day, and even into the not-too-distant future. In 2017, Harry's son Albus prepares for his first year at Hogwarts, and shockingly ends up sorted into Slytherin and becomes best friends with Draco Malfoy's son Scorpius. Naturally, this creates all manner of melodrama for both families. A couple years later in 2019, Hermione Granger surprises absolutely no one by becoming the Minister of Magic. I mean, come on, how could she not? She's awesome. By 2020, Harry is the new head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, and he and his son manage to find a new common ground when they travel back in time to stop Delphine from altering history by preventing Voldemort from killing Harry's parents. While it's a devastating scene to witness, it does end up bringing Harry and Albus closer together. And there you have it. We've straightened out the Wizarding World timeline for ya crazy muggles. And who knows what other adventures might await our favorite trio. How'd we do? What other magical events might we have missed? Let us know in the comment section below, and hey, make sure to subscribe. Has mischief been managed today? Absolutely. See you next time.